Hello everyone and welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah shir. We're holding in Mishnah Berurah Chelik Vav. We are continuing to learn Hilchas Sukkah. Mirz Hashem, today we will be learning Daf Kuf Tes Amud Aleph. We are holding in Siman Taf Reish Mem. We pick up today on the very bottom line of Kuf Ches Amud Beis. In the words of the Ramah, Siman Taf Reish Mem Sif Ches. So, in Sif Ches, we have been discussing the P'tur of excuse me. We have been discussing the P'tur of Holchei Drachim, travelers. We said that somebody who's traveling doesn't have a chiyuv of sukkah. In the beginning of Sif Ches, the Mechaber told us, Holchei Drachim bayom, if you're traveling during the day, P'turim min sukkah bayom, you're patur from sukkah during the day, v'chayavim balayla, but you're obligated to sleep in the sukkah at night when you're not traveling. When you get to your destination, like the Mishnah Berurah said, you're mechuyev to look for a sukkah. If you could find a sukkah to sleep in, you have to sleep in the sukkah. Holchei Drachim balayla, if you're traveling overnight, P'turim balayla, you don't have to sleep in the sukkah, you're traveling. V'chayavim bayom, but when you get to a destination during the day, you're mechuyev to go look for a sukkah if you're not busy traveling, and you have to eat in a sukkah. And the Ramah said, of course, that means if you can find a sukkah. And we said that the p'tur of a traveler from sukkah is based on teshvu ke'ein taduru. The same way you leave your house to go traveling, you don't take your house with you, you leave your house to go traveling, and the tzarchei bayis that you have to eat. You stop at a rest stop and eat a tuna-fish sandwich at a rest stop. So on Sukkot also, when the sukkah is your house, you're allowed to leave the sukkah for certain things. So you would leave your house to travel, you could leave the sukkah to travel. We spoke about the poskim, Dirshu Zatzal, Rabbi Yashiv, who speak about the question of, let's say, chalamoid trips. You're going out to travel for pleasure. So we saw the Dirshu Zatzal writes in the Igris that you should not rely on the P'tur of Holchei Drachim. He says you're going to be mavatal a mitzvah hasei just for pleasure. You don't do that. Rabbi Yashiv took a little bit more of a lenient position on it. This we all discussed in the previous year. Now, along the same theme, the Ramah continues on the very bottom line of Kuf Ches Amud Beis. Says the Ramah, V'haholchim likvarim, somebody who's traveling around the local villages, litvaya chayvaysehem. This fellow has a business, and he has to travel around, and he has to go to the people who buy from him, and he has to collect the monies that are owed to him. So he's always traveling around to the villages to collect the monies that are owed to him. And he's doing this on Sukkot. It's a tzarich that he has, Teshvu ke'ein taduru. He would leave his house during the year to go collect the monies that are outstanding. So on Sukkot also, he could go around and collect the monies that are outstanding. We're not going to get into right now during Chalamoid the question of Masa Maton. We learned Chalamoid. Mirz Hashem will get to it again in the next Chazor. So somebody has to go and he has to pick up the monies that are owed to him. This could be a davar ha'ovud. And in the surrounding villages, they do not have a sukkah. So he's going around he's leaving his home, he's going to one of the surrounding villages, and his plan is to go from village A to village B to village C, and while he's traveling, there are no sukkahs for him to eat in. So the Ramah says like this, Yachmiru al atzman, they should be machber on themselves, lashuv levatehem, to return to their homes, b'chol laila, each night, lechol b'sukkah, to eat in the sukkah. What's the Ramah saying? The Ramah is saying like this. Normally, this person he leaves his house, he goes to village A. When he finishes his route in village A, he goes to village B. He finishes his route in village B, he goes to village C. Now the halacha is, this person is a holchei drachim. He's a traveler. He's traveling around to collect his wages or to collect the outstanding monies that people owe to him. He's a traveler. He's not mechuyev to wait to have a sukkah. And the truth is, he's not mechuyev to return home at night either. He could stay where he is in one of the villages. If he could find a sukkah to sleep in, he sleeps in the sukkah. If he can't find a sukkah to sleep in, he doesn't have to sleep in the sukkah. He could get up in the morning and keep on going. Says the Ramah, such a person preferably should be machmir on himself. Loshuv levateim b'chol laila. Better, he should go home each night and he should wait to eat until he gets home to his sukkah, lechel b'sukkah. V'af agav diyesh lahakil, even though there certainly is room over here to be makel because of the p'tur of holchei drachim, mikol makom hamachmir tavay alav bracha. Still, he brings down from the Beis Yosef in the name of the Archas Chaim that somebody who's machmir tavay alav bracha. So let's take a look first here at the Mishnah Berurah, Ois Cotton Mem Dalet on Kuf Tes Amud Aleph. V'af agav diyesh lahakil. Even though the Ramah said there certainly is room here to be makel. Ritzayna Loimar, what the Ramah wants to say is Damasha Amru HaHolchin Bayom Chayavin Balayla. When we said that Holchei Drachim Bayom, somebody who's traveling during the day, is potter from sukkah during the day, but he's chayiv at night. Hainu Heichad Damaitze Sukkah Ba'Yisemakay. That's if he finds a sukkah at night in the locale where he's traveling. Masha Ein Bazeh. This person left home. He went to village A, then he went to village B, he went to village C. The Ramah is telling me over here that there's a chumrah, he should go home and he should eat at home. But the Ramah says, Afagav diyesh lahakil. What's the kula? The kula is because this person was traveling and now he doesn't have a sukkah. So he's not mechuyev to wait. He's not mechuyev to go wait for a sukkah, and there is no sukkah available. So there's definitely room here for a kula to say that he's not mechuyev to wait until he gets home. He's not mechuyev even to go return home. And he has no chiyuv of sukkah because there is no sukkah here. So this whole idea of don't eat supper now in village B or village C, instead wait till you return home, that's only a chumrah. Says the Ramah, says the Mishnah Berurah, the Ramah is talking about a chumrah. Says the Mishnah Berurah, v'chol zeh b'holich mikfar lekfar. This, that there's a p'tur, but there's a chumrah, is only by the person who's traveling from village to village, because midina ain't tzarich lahamtin milecho. Because al pidin, he's not mechuyev to wait to eat supper. If he's in village C at 6 o'clock at night, and there's no sukkah, he could eat supper right now. If there's a kosher or fast food place, he could go in and he could sit down by a table and he could eat supper. He's not mechuyev to go home, and he's not mechuyev to wait. Even if he knows he's going to be home at 10 o'clock at night, he's not mechuyev to wait. Now is mealtime. Now I'm a traveler and I don't have a sukkah, so now I'm not mechuyev to wait till I get home. Rak hamachmir, but the idea that the Ramah is saying is there is a chumrah to wait till you get home to eat. Avol, that's in this case where this person is traveling. Avol b'shaya b'kfar echad shloisha ayarba yamim. But now let's change the scenario. In the scenario that we're talking about, this guy is traveling. He left home, he went to village A, then he's going to village B, then he's going to village C. So he's constantly on the move. In that case, there's a chumrah. Go home and eat at home, and then continue your travels. But, says the Mishnah Berurah, but if there's somebody who's traveling and he's going to be in one village for 3 or 4 days, then chayiv midina lasei sham sukkah. Then the Mishnah Berurah says, then you're chayiv to make a sukkah. If you're leaving your hometown and you're going to a village and you're going to spend 3-4 days of Chol Hamoed in that village, well, that means that you left home and you took up residence for 3 or 4 days of Chol Hamoed in this town. So now you're living in that town. If you're living in that town, you got to make a sukkah. You uprooted. This is no longer a shaila of Teshu Kein Taduru. This is Teshu Kein Taduru also. If you would leave your home and go stay somewhere else for 3-4 days, you would set yourself up somewhere proper to stay. So if you left your home and you're spending 4 days of Chol Hamoed sukkahs in one village, you got to make yourself a sukkah. There's no p'tur then of holchei drachim. That p'tur doesn't exist. So when is there a chumrah? There's a chumrah when you're on the go. That's when it's a chumrah. Go home and eat at home. But if you're not on the go, if you uprooted yourself from your home and now you're living for 3-4 days of Chol Hamoed sukkahs in another village, you got to make yourself a sukkah. Now, I think it's kedai to see again the words of the Aruch HaShulchan over here, because I love the way he words it. He says, right? These were the words of the Ramah. Somebody who's traveling around to different villages in order to collect the monies that are owed to him. And there are no sukkahs in those villages where he's traveling. Yachmiru al atzman, they should be makmer on themselves. Loshuv levateim b'chalayla, to return to their homes each night. Lechol b'sukkah, to eat in the sukkah. V'avagav diyesh lahakil, even though there's room here for a kula. Mikamokam ha'machmer tavay alav bracha ad kad l'shoina. Kaloymar, says the Aruch HaShulchan, what's the Ramah saying here? Tahaholchim tadir b'kvarim shesvivos ha'ir. People who do this on a regular basis, they go traveling around to the villages that surround their home city. Yesh lipa'amim, there are times, shegam b'chol hashana, all year round when they do this, not on Sukkot, shavim l'bateim b'chol layla. Sometimes they return home every night. In other words, the picture that the Aruch HaShulchan is painting over here is a person lives in a city. He does business with the surrounding villages. All year, there are times that he has to go traveling around the surrounding villages to collect his wages or collect the outstanding debts. So sometimes he goes to the surrounding villages and he stays away from home for 3 or 4 days. He stops over in one village, then he stops over in another village, then he stops over in another village. Now this fellow who's doing this on Sukkot, if that's what he would do, if he would not return home at night, and where he's traveling in the villages, there are no sukkahs, so he's potter from sukkah by day, and he's potter from sukkah at night, because there are no sukkahs. But sometimes the guy doesn't leave home for 3-4 days. Sometimes he goes out during the day, and he comes home at night. And then the next day he goes out again during the day, and he comes again home at night. So that's why the Aruch HaShulchan says, the Ramah is telling you over here, V'lachein yesh lasos pasukos gamkein, v'zeu b'chlal teshvu kein taduru. If you do sometimes travel during the year, and you come home each night, then on Sukkot also come home each night. And if you know you're going to come home each night, so then wait to eat in the Sukkah until you come home. Now, you can't be mechayev a person to do this, because usually they don't return home every night. So again, that's the way the Aruch HaShulchan is understanding the Ramah. The Aruch HaShulchan is understanding the Ramah that there's just 2 different ways this could be done. One is that you stay away from home for 3-4 days. The other one is you come home every night. Says the Ramah, since sometimes the guy would come home every night, so on Sukkot come home every night and have a chiyuv of Sukkah at night. Okay. Now we go to Siftes. Shaimrei ha'ir bayoim, the watchmen of the city who guard the city during the day. Peturim bayoim, they're potter from sukkah during the day. V'chayavim balayla, but they're obligated to sleep in the sukkah at night. Shaimrei ha'ir balayla, the guards who guard the city at night. Peturim balayla, they're potter from sukkah at night. V'chayavim bayoim, but they're obligated in sukkah during the day. Says the Mishnah Berurah cut memvav. Shaimrei ha'ir. What does this mean that they're guarding the city? Says the Chavetz Chaim, Hainu migayosos shelo yavayu aleim. Chavetz Chaim says, we're talking here about guards who guard the city from physical attack. They guard the city from marauders, from people who come and might attack the city. Utzrichin leilech savev ha'ir l'shamron. And therefore, the reason why they are potter from sukkah when they're on watch is because they have to constantly move around. These are not guards that could stay in one guard booth and they have a specific area that they have to guard. If it's a guard that could stay in one place, so then he should build a sukkah over there and he's chayiv in sukkah. We're talking about guards who are on patrol. So they need to constantly be on patrol. They can't be in one place. If they can't be in one place, they can't have a chiyuv sukkah. So hainu migayosos shelo yavai alehen. Utzrichin leilech savav ir l'shamron. They have to patrol around the city to protect the city. Ulefikach ein yichayil lasei sukkah b'makom echad. And therefore, they can't be chayiv in sukkah, because you can't be mechayiv them to make a sukkah in one spot. They have to constantly be on patrol. V'dafga b'shomrei gayosos. Now, this concept that the Mechaber says over here, that these watchmen are potter when they're on watch, but they're chayiv when they're not on watch. So the Mechaber talks about shomrei ir, that are, maybe these people are shomrei ir bayoim, so they're potter bayoim, but they're chayiv balayla, or vice versa. Says the Chavetz Chaim, v'dafka b'shomrei gayosos, that only applies to people that are patrolling the city to protect it from attack. Aval b'shomrei mamayin shelo yavayo ligneva, but when the purpose of the guards is to make sure that people don't come to steal, they're not coming to rob property or rob money, shedarkin lishmar tamid, those type of guards guard both by day and both by night. Heavy kishomrei ginos upradesin hamavar lekamei. So then, that's the halacha of Sif Yud, which are going to be the Shomrei Ginos Upradesim, where the Mechaber is going to say, they're potter bein bayoim ubein balayla. The people who are hired to protect the crops, they have to protect the crops by day and by night, and they have to constantly be on the move, otherwise the robbers will know to come from a different direction at a specific time. Continues the Chavetz Chaim, and he says, "MS, truth be told, everything is dependent on the type of guard duty that the guard has. Keep going. For example, Shomrei hachanuyos shalanu, the guards that protect the stores nowadays, shedarkon lishmar balayla, their job is to protect the stores at night. During the day, there's no need to protect the stores. The store owners are there, the shopkeepers are there, the public is out and about, but their job is to protect the shops at night. So P'tur and Rak Balayla, they're potter only at night. So the Chavetz Chaim is pointing out, everything is dependent on the obligations and the responsibilities of the guards that we're talking about. What it is they have to guard and what their timing has to be. V'hayoshim b'chanos. Now the Chavetz Chaim talks about an interesting case. How about a shopkeeper who spends his day in his shop? So, a person has a house, he wakes up in the morning, he goes to work, he goes to the shop. He's going to spend the whole day in the shop. Where does he eat lunch? He eats lunch, generally speaking, in the shop. Now, you might be tempted to say that a shopkeeper has a p'tur of sukkah because of Teishu Kain Taduru. I leave my house every day to go take care of my shop, and I eat lunch in my shop. So am I mechuyev to eat lunch now in the sukkah because it's sukkahs? Teishu Kain Taduru. The same way I leave my house and I eat my tutti-frutti sandwich at the counter in my shop, why do I have to leave my shop now to go to the sukkah? Teishu Kain Taduru. I should be able to eat my tutti-frutti sandwich in the shop. Says the Chavetz Chaim, no. V'hayoshvim b'chanos, somebody who's a shopkeeper and he spends most of his day in the shop, even though typically during the day he eats at his counter in the shop, on Sukkot he's chayiv to go out to the sukkah and he has to eat his lunch in the sukkah. Why is that? So what the Mefarshim say is very interesting. They say that a shopkeeper who spends his days in the shop and he eats in the shop, that's because his shop is his home away from home. The shop has a din of a bias because he spends every day over there in the shop and he eats in the shop. So the shop is his bias. So it's not pshat teishu kain taduru. I leave my bias and I go eat in the shop. No, you have two homes. You have a home that you use at night and you have a home that you use during the day. During the day, you eat in your daytime home, which is your shop. But on Sukkot, you have to leave the home and you have to go eat in the sukkah. So by day, on Sukkot, you have to leave the shop and you have to go eat in the sukkah. And says the Chavetz Chaim, this is true. This is even true if the store is mamish away from the house. They live outside the city and the shop is in the city. Chayavim lases lehem sukkah kedei lechal be'eshe yitztarchu. They have to make a sukkah in the city by the shop so that they should be able to eat during the day in the sukkah. If they can't go home to eat, they have to make a sukkah by the shop. Siv Yud, says the Mechaber, Shomrei Ginoisu Pardesim, those who guard the gardens, they guard the crops in the gardens. Just 1 second. Okay. I got scared over there that the feed wasn't working, but I see it is. So Shomrei Ginoisu Pardesim, those who guard the crops in the gardens, Upardesim, or the orchards, Peturim, they are exempt from Sukkah Bein Bayom, Ubein Balayla, both by day and by night, because they have to be on watch all the time, and they have to probably be patrolling. Shem Yasa Hashem Sukkah, because if the guard will make a sukkah for him to stay in, Yeda Haganav, the Ganav will know, Sheyesh Hashem Makom Kavua, now the Shomer knows, a pardes, an orchard, is a big place, it's not a small place. So if the guard is going to make a sukkah on the south end of the pardes, so now a Ganef will know, don't worry about the watchman. The watchman is in the sukkah all the way on the south side. We'll rob the north side. Therefore, because this is the logic that the shomer can't make a sukkah, because by making a sukkah he's fixing himself in one place and he's allowing the ganef to come in from somewhere else. Therefore, let's say the guard was hired to guard a stack of produce, and he has the ability, now we're not talking about a whole huge pardes that he has to patrol. He was given a job to guard one particular stack of produce, and he could watch it from one place. So chayav las sukkah b'makom sheshamrei. So make a sukkah right over there, and you're obligated in sukkah. Hagah, says the Ramah, v'ha'oisin yayin eitzel ha'ovid kechavim b'sukkos. Somebody who is making wine, he's making kosher wine for the Yiddish olam, but he's doing it, let's say, in a non-Jewish wine producing facility. Peturim bein bayom bein balayla, he's patur from sukkah both by night and by day. Why? Because he has to make sure that the non-Jews don't touch the kosher wine. If they touch the kosher wine, it becomes yain esech, and now the wine is not kosher anymore. So these people have to be on watch on a constant basis. They can't make a sukkah. If it's set up in such a way that it doesn't require shimur, if the Yiddish vats of wine are under lock and key and no non-Jews can get to them, then chayavin, then they're chayav. Says the Mishnah Berurah, cut mem zayin v'oisim yayin v'mayayin munach b'chotzer. If the yayin is out in a courtyard, tzarich lasis sukkah b'chotzer. So make the sukkah in the chotzer. Tiyachal l'shomer mitoch hasukkah, because now you could watch the wine from inside your sukkah. Al pi ha'afanam ha'mavuarim b'yardei siman kuf lamed aleph, as long as you meet all the requirements as they are discussed in the halachas of yayin nesech in Yardei Siman Kuf Lamed Aleph. Okay, we're going to stop over here, even though Taf Reish Mem Aleph starts over here on the page, and really we could probably wrap up Taf Reish Mem Aleph in the amount of time we have left. I'd rather not, because Taf Reish Mem Aleph is a very, very interesting siman, and I want to put a little extra time into preparing it before I say share on it. So I'm not quite ready to say share on Taf Reish Mem Aleph, so we're going to stop over here. Thank you so much for joining me for Liman HaTorah. The schus of Liman HaTorah should be making against Klal Yisrael, the Rebbe should send Yeshua's refuahs and parnaset sheduchim to all those in need, and we should be zeicher to see the Bias Girl Tzedek b'mehera v'yameinu. We're coming up to the Yom Tov of Sukkot. We should be zeicher to be oila l'regel. It's good to see you. Be well.